Welcome to Investing in Florida podcast, dedicated to exploring the investment landscape in Florida and uncovering strategies for maximizing your returns. I'm excited today to have Justin Burnett here and Nadia Deiss, and we're going to be going over Renovation Sells. And Renovation Sells is one of our preferred vendors that we really get a good connection with because we work with a lot of projects where they're just about to get to the finish line and there may be an issue with some inspections and things, and he is there to get us to the finish lines. And there's also so many other ways that Justin is able to help during this process. So I'm excited to have you here today as one of our preferred vendors to go over what makes you a little bit different in this industry. And I know Maya, one of our top agents here at Investing in Florida, is going to be asking a lot of questions with Justin to kind of let everybody know what the capabilities are with Renovation Sells and what really sets them apart. So I am excited to have Justin and Maya here get started on some of the questions and get going.
Thanks, Nadia.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. I'm excited to share what we do with Justin. So let's kind of go and dive in. My first question for you, Justin, is how long have you been in the renovation business and what kind of got you started into it?
Yeah. And again, it's great to be here. I love investing in Florida. It fits so well with what we do. And so for us, we're almost at the year mark of being in business. So we started last September. This is month 12 that we're going into here in August. And, what got me started here, I'll keep it brief because I know most people will tune out of a podcast after a certain amount of time. So, I grew up around, renovations, and my stepdad was a contractor. And so I always tag along with him and do little things here and there. But probably more importantly is my wife and I have moved 13 times in the 15 years that we've been together. And, we bought and sold 7 homes, and we've always looked at real estate as an investment and through that lens. And we've always enjoyed doing things in the homes that we were in. And still to this day, the house that I feel most connected with was the one that we did the most work in. And so that passion kind of led me to this business. I exited my W-2 corporate America that I was there for 23 years. And, I exited that wanting to work for somebody, working for myself instead of working for somebody else. And that's what led me to this, because I feel like this is something that I can do for the second chapter of my work career. And, I really feel like those last 11 months, I haven't really worked a day because I've enjoyed so much what I've done, and looking to continue to grow the business for that reason.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Glad everything has been successful for you all the past year then. But yeah, love that story. Thank you. And then I guess next, kind of going into like the scope of the project and how you guys perform that. Is there going to be like a large plan that's going to be sent over to us in the beginning, or how does that process work? And along with that, how is the payment set up?
Yeah. Let me give you an overview of kind of how we operate. And fortunately, Maya and I've had the opportunity to already go through the process at least once. And so what we do is, I came from an industry, and I came from a company that was against the grain in their industry before. Really, they were, kind of the uncarrier in the world of carriers and cell phones. And they tried to do things that, were pokes in the eye for customers that they didn't like. And I kind of took this same approach to this business. And so there's a couple of things when people deal with contractors and renovations that they know to be true, but they don't like. And number one is it's hard to get them in front of you. Number two, you don't always hear back from people. And number three, the transparency and then the timing of when the work is done is not always clear, not always there. And so I typically make it a point to get out within 24 hours of when you call me to go do a walkthrough. And, in the case where we worked together, it was perfect because I was trying to help her client, and I came out, I think it was the next day, you can check me on that, but came out the next day, we walked it together and took a look at what would make the most difference here, because our mission is to make you more money, to make the client more money when they sell their home. And so I'll walk through it together with you, make some suggestions on things that I know need to be updated. Everybody cares about the kitchen. Everybody cares about their master bath. you can't have multiple colors on walls, so you got to paint the walls. And then what's the shape and condition of the floor? And then especially when you run into some of these older neighborhoods, if they have popcorn ceilings, that's a turn off for people right away. So I try to kind of guide through those things, and we talk through the scope of work and things that we agree need to be done. And then within 48 hours, I turn back around a full proposal, and that's detailed scope of work with the total cost, that's in there. And I'll never claim to be the cheapest that's out there. I know for sure we're not the most expensive, but we pride ourselves on doing two things better than anybody else. Number one is getting the work done right. And number two is getting the work done on time. And so that's why those two pieces of timing are important to me, because I know in real estate for you as an agent, and then I know for your client, that getting that property on the market and that time is so important. And so that's why I try to act as quickly as possible with those things. And then we also try to turn around the project in 3 to 4 weeks. So you're not spending a whole lot of time waiting for that to get done. And our payment schedules are pretty straightforward. I think they're pretty consistent with what most do, but there's an initial deposit for us that gets the work going, that allows me to buy materials, because we do full bids with materials plus labor. So that allows me to buy the materials. And then at certain intervals, depending on what the scope of work is. So if we're doing a kitchen remodel, we're putting in new cabinets, that's one of the biggest expenses. And so after the cabinets go in, there'll be another payment. And then typically after flooring is done or painting is done, there's another payment. And then we usually have a final payment. So it's usually broken out into four different groups. But we do have financing, and we'll probably get to that in a little bit as well. And so that kind of allows us to continue that payment schedule without having to impact the client's wallet as they're going through the renovation.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. That was super detailed. I guess, so kind of going into the trends right now of the market, do you find that there's any particular trends that are occurring in the home renovation and design, or certain materials that are super popular right now?
Yeah, there are all sorts of trends that are happening. It's almost like we went through this whitewash phase where everybody wanted to have white kitchens and neutral. And when we do work, we try to make it a neutral palette for the home buyer that's coming in. And so I know that I'm not going to go in and create these bold looks where we've got dark blues or really strong dark wood colors. So we do try to keep it neutral, and that honestly, it's the direction that we've headed in for a while. But I'm starting to see kind of a change a little bit, and I'm starting to see the natural wood tones come in a little bit more. We did a pretty big project in Cheval, and we had both colors. So we did natural wood island on the cabinets, and then we also did white uppers and base cabinets on the outside. And I think that to me is one of those trends that I see coming back in. And then as far as bathrooms and the rest of the house goes, neutral, LVP is really, really popular with flooring because of the durability, because of the ease. If something happens to it, you can just peel up a tile and put it back in. And so that's been really popular as well. And if you're trying to look at maximizing your renovation to get the most out of it, it's usually your best bang for your buck, because it's not as expensive as tile. It's definitely not as expensive as wood, and you still get that great look throughout the home. So those are a couple things that I see happening right now. I'm sure if you fast forward 5 or 10 years, we're going to be right back to gold cabinet pulls and gold finishes that most people don't like today, because everything seems to be cyclical.
Oh, no, don't say that. No, we don't want to.
Thank you for sharing that. That's all good information.
I did put gold light fixtures in a home that we just did, by the way. So it's definitely going to creep back around.
Do you think the farmhouse, that whole style, is that kind of on its way out? Or because you said that they're bringing back the wood into the white?
We do. And a lot of what we do, we don't really incorporate farmhouse. I have had a couple of clients ask for, that sink. They definitely wanted the farmhouse sink. But beyond that, I really don't see the open floating shelves as people asking for anymore. Again, I'm not a designer. I work with a design team. So whenever you need feedback and input, they're going to give that to us. But my design team's more aimed at making it more popular for the many, as opposed to just kind of that niche group. And we really don't do much of the farmhouse look at all.
Is there any particular design that you like best? Like, for example, like say for a kitchen, like what is your most ideal if you had to design your own kitchen for yourself?
Yeah. Well, number one, I can't make that decision. That's my wife's decision. And I've recognized that early on. You heard me say 15 years, so I've learned at this point. But I honestly like that natural wood look. We're about to put in an entire kitchen down in Clearwater, with natural wood cabinets. It almost looks just like you would grab a 2x4 off the shelf. I think it looks great. I think the white and that really balances well together, with a nice clean quartz countertop with some veining that matches the natural wood cabinets. I love that look, and my wife is there. But at the end of the day, if we did our kitchen, which she wants to do, it's totally going to be up to her.
Kind of going off of that, is there a funniest time that you've had on a job or something crazy that has ever come up while you were on a job?
Yeah. Funniest, I don't know. I'm always having fun, especially with I have a couple of different teams that I work with, and there's a specific team with painter, handyman. Like those guys are just fun no matter what. But the funnest one that I've been on, there's actually two of them. And I think most people that are in industry I'm in, and again, I'm in a niche. I'm trying to help somebody get their home ready for sale. And so sometimes people are living in it and sometimes people aren't. And I think if you would ask 100 contractors if they prefer working with the client in the house or not, they're always going to say or not. Well, for me, my funnest jobs have been the one where they've been there. And obviously it's not fun because it's always messy. We create a mess. We try to contain it as much as possible, but it's just an inconvenience when you're living there. But the reason I say that is because there becomes a connection with the family. So one of the very first jobs that we did, the homeowner lived there the whole time. She didn't have any kids. She was retired, but she had these three Yorkies, and every day when I came to the job site, I had to go check in with her dogs because they were always asking for me, and I was asking for my handyman. And so we created a bond. And in fact, to this point, my son still kind of looks at her like an adopted grandmother, and we have to go over and see Miss Bev every once in a while. And then I had another one too where the homeowners' kids were there, and they were about the same age as my kids, and so we just created a bond because I was doing work in his bedroom, one of the son's bedrooms, and you just kind of create a connection. And for me, that's always the funnest. The craziest probably falls into the toughest category as well, but you always hear it. Like you don't know what you don't know until you get the walls open and you start looking at things. And we were turning the corner to wrap up. I'd say we were probably in the final lap of finishing pretty big project, a 2 month long project. And, we just so happened to see that a couple of the baseboards didn't look right, that were already there. And so I reached out to the homeowner, hey, we've got some of the material here already. Do you just want us to replace the rest of your baseboards? And, he approved the change order. But lo and behold, when we started pulling back baseboards, there was mold around several of the windows that were in the house, to the point where as soon as we pulled the baseboards out, you could feel it. Like you could start to feel, sick. In fact, I got sick a couple of days from working around that. And that was, we looked at it like, hey, we're about to finish this job, but now this family is also about to move into this house and we can't have them here in this condition. So I'm glad that it happened because we discovered it. They may have never discovered it till they moved in, and then it might have been too late because they were living in those conditions. But it paused us for almost 3.5 weeks as we went through the remediation process. And then we had to turn around and rebuild it after that. So it turned into almost a 4 month project because of the pause and the rebuild that we had to do towards the end.
Oh no, that's the worst.
Especially when it's impacting you like that. I always try to muscle through anything, but there was no muscling through mold being in your system.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for sure. Have you ever kind of like piggybacking off of that, and have you ever had to turn down a job at all if something came up?
Yeah. And so, like I said earlier, I'm still in year one, and anyone that's ran a business or opened a business in year one, you're gung ho and you're running at everything as fast as you can. And what I
Mhm.
realized in that year is that, it's more about the relationships rather than the work. And so I've had all sorts of things come my way that I think some of my peers or others that are in the same industry would probably walk away from. But I realized that by me doing, what a perfect example is last week, one of the agents that I work with, She had a closing that she was trying to get done, get across the finish line. They had some rotted wood on their inspection report and couldn't move forward until they got it cleared up. And, we were able to do that, in 24 hours, but it was an inconvenience because I had to pull my handyman off another job to get him over there. But at the end of the day, I realized that that little job, and I didn't make a dime off of that. I just gave everything to my handyman for doing it. But that one thing was going to turn to a bigger and better relationship with that agent. And that's how I've looked at everything since I've started my business. There probably will be a point where I have to, just based on, just based on capacity, because we are starting to get a little busier. But where I can, I try not to say no to anything. Looking forward, I also, I've learned a lot within that year, and looking forward, getting in and really reconfiguring a floor plan or taking down walls, moving plumbing, like those things really slow down a project. And I won't say no to it, but I'm going to try to guide as much as I can to stay away from doing those things, because time is probably one of the more important things when it comes to getting a home ready for market.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. I guess kind of like wrapping up a little bit and looking into future trends.
Yeah, I think most people are realizing now that we're in Florida, so let's just speak real. Over the last 5 or 6 years, our appreciation has been strong. And so I think most people are sitting on homes that have appreciated quite a bit here. And they're realizing that I have all this equity. There's ways for me to tap into that equity, or I can't leave right now because of where rates are. So let me make this my dream home. And so a lot of what we've seen over the course of the last 4 or 5 months, especially, are homeowners that are trying to customize their home, for their dream home and for their forever home, as opposed to maybe some of the moves that were happening before, because they know they have a lot of appreciation that's sitting there as well. So I'm definitely not an expert with, you're much more of an expert than I am on what decision making, impacts that they have. But I'd say that people are realizing that their house has equity and they want to make it their forever home, and they're probably a little scared to go take on a 6.5% interest rate when they're sitting on 2.5 or 3.
And one thing I definitely want to touch on before we jump off of this, just what really sets you apart too, is the financing. And I know Maya, just like one of our projects that we're having right now, we have a client that inherited a property, but she's trying to figure out how to move forward, how to rehab it. And she's on a budget, and she's trying to figure out how she can make this happen before she's able to finance it. And also one of Maya's projects, same thing, wanting to get the construction going, but out of pocket, it's almost unavailable. And I see that a lot right now where yes, I want to do this rehab, I want to get it fixed, but I don't have that money right now. And if you kind of explain how that could help some of the clients as well, because I know that's one of the niches that we really enjoy with your company.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up. I knew you would. But I referenced this earlier too. And I think there's options out there for paid at closing. And we're not paid at closing, but we do realize exactly what you said, and that I have a home. This home could be worth X if I put in Y, but I don't have that Y right now. And I always explain our business as we flip for the seller as opposed to for the buyer. So I know you work with investors too, and so they realize and recognize the importance in that. And so what we want to do is try to eliminate one of those barriers that gets in the way, which is the financing portion. And so the way our financing works, it's a loan for whoever applies. It could be the homeowner, it could be somebody else. They don't even need to be on the title to apply for the loan for it. And it goes up to $80,000. They have up to 6 months after my work is completed to pay it back. And so it makes it really friendly. You heard me talk about those payment schedules earlier. So just to give you an example, when somebody applies for financing, at each one of those intervals where payments are due, all they're doing is just clicking a button that says, I approve, for this payment this time because work has been completed. So it makes it very easy for them. The process takes 5 minutes. They do it all through their phone. They have a result right away. So there's no waiting, and it's just based on, their personal credit, as opposed to putting a lien on the house, and then creating an extra step or extra hurdle when it comes to closing.
That's right. Yeah, that is huge. That is so important to some of our clients. So I think that really can set you apart with your partnership with that lending, because it'll help so many people that are doing that transition.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing those tips and advice for the listeners. And then just kind of wrapping up everything, what's the best way that the listeners can get in touch with you and reach out to you and inquire about your services?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, obviously we have socials, we have a website. I would say the easiest way, and I'll put it out there, I'm not afraid, just call me directly or text me. My phone number is 407-928-2929, whatever you need. I'm here. I answer it pretty much right away. But I do want to say, I appreciate the relationship with both Nadia and Maya and Investing in Florida, because I think what you do is special. And I see, the vision for what you have and how you help people. And, I'm excited to be a part of that and just kind of help that process for you.
We're really excited to have this partnership, because it'll definitely, us together as a team can make a lot of dreams come true when they're looking at trying to move or trying to build a portfolio. I think this is a great option. So thank you so much today for jumping on here. And I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but we could go on forever, I think. And so thank you so much for both of you to jump on and kind of go over this for the clients and for the public to understand what options are really out there for them. Thank you, guys, and have a good day.
Thanks,
Bye.
you too. Bye.
As we conclude this episode, we hope you found value in this podcast. If so, we encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this valuable information to assist others in building wealth within the real estate realm. Until next time.